Hello, my name is Joe Blanchard. I'd like to present to you my final presentation for Criminal Justice 491, the Capstone Project at Herzing University. Thank you, and enjoy my presentation.
On units, we have shots fired in the vehicle in question from Cambridge. Last in here, he texted around. A units to assist in Watertown. That's Montgomery texted around with reported shots fired at officers fenced up the vehicle.
Shots fired in Watertown. Shots fired in Watertown. All our officers, use garage and monitor the inner city channels.
K-22. K-22 in Dexter. They have explosives, some type of grenades. They're in between the houses down here.
Alright, grenades being used. I have it. Keep on calling the unit. Call signs off, guys.
Shots fired. Shots fired. Shots fired. Shots fired. Now to false on the ground. Loud explosion. Loud explosion. Loud explosion. Shots fired. What?
Loud explosion.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
With the explosions at the marathon, what was law enforcement doing to secure the scene? What steps were taken to protect the lives of both the citizens of Boston as well as responding emergency units? These topics will be mentioned as well as critiqued for a quick analysis of how all branches of involved law enforcement conducted themselves. There will be arguments on both sides of the actions of responding units on what could have been changed or continued. There were two bombs that exploded at the Boston Marathon, about 13 seconds from each other. This prompted a very rapid police response, not only from the Boston Police Department, surrounding municipalities later joined in, and the police chief was talking to officers on the ground, and they did not know what was going on, so he pulled out all the stops, brought in the ATF, FBI, and other agencies, because this has possible terrorist implications, and an attack has not happened on U.S. soil since September 11th. And since this was a possible terrorist attack, there was a heavy police saturation of the entire area. This was to secure the scene, possibly look for more bombs, and try and find any information on the bombers and exactly what happened so that an investigation could be done right after the immediate scene was secured, and so that law enforcement could know who they were dealing with. This also brings into the question of the amount of police that were there, as opposed to, like I mentioned before, September 11th. The situations were a little bit different, but there was a very, very heavy police response for the attacks that happened in Boston, and we can divulge into that momentarily. The intentions of officers were indeed noble and served the best interests of the community. Orders are orders, and the situation turned from bombing to domestic terror attack and evolved into a large-scale manhunt, all within a short period of time. The amount of police on scene for the first responding efforts and initial staging to locate the bombing suspect was a great step in the right direction for public safety as well as the police process. Not knowing who the authorities were dealing with leaves law enforcement to come prepared and utilize everything in their arsenal. This gives the public a feeling of security and can even promote citizen cooperation for locating those involved, which is what happened and will be discussed later.
Just going house to house, making sure everything's okay in the house.
Everything's fine.
You guys are good?
Yep.
Okay. Cells all set, everything's locked up?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, we have an open garage in the back.
Just check that.
Okay.
All right.
License locked.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
They're everywhere. Look up the street. They're like all up there too.
Jesus. That's my car.
What you just viewed was actual footage of the door-to-door searches that were conducted by various law enforcement organizations in the greater Boston area. You could view the presence. It's a very heavy police presence with military-style vehicles, APCs, and other personnel carriers. Critics of this action are referring to it as almost a martial law, because you can also hear in the second part of the video that the entire city is shut down. Transit, Businesses remain closed and people are advised to stay in their homes. That's essentially what martial law is, and Senator Ron Paul also criticized that this is shocking that what actually happened, and people need to be, more aware, I guess, of what's going on. This kind of thing can't happen, but at the same time, from a law enforcement perspective, there's a bombing suspect on the loose, and he was after the firefight, so you got to think they're all hyped up as well. Officers have been killed. There's one transit officer that was shot, almost fatally wounded, but the MIT officer was shot and killed. Somebody got carjacked, and there was 3 individuals killed at the bombing site, as well as almost 300 injured severely. So we got to think too at both sides of the equation. Yes, your rights are being infringed by us. Using the knock and talk techniques learned in every police department. But at the same time, they're trying to make sure, if people seem flustered or scared, that he could be hiding in a house. What they were doing with the door-to-door searches, they had a 20-block radius, if you will, of the area that he was last seen in from the car chase. And he figured he couldn't have gotten far because everything was roped off. So they figured that he was in there, and that's why they were conducting the door-to-door searches. Ultimately, it was a citizen who discovered Dzhokhar Tsarnaev in a boat outside of his house. Suffering from a gunshot wound to the neck, the suspect was apprehended by multiple law enforcement agencies. This elderly individual saw the storage flap on his boat unhooked, and the interior was exposed. He wanted to badly fix it, but the lockdown was in effect and he wanted to remain inside. He later went out nearing the end of the citywide shutdown and noticed blood and Dzhokhar's body inside. He alerted authorities, which mounted another astounding display of officers, vehicles, and all the seriousness of the crimes he will be charged with. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to view my presentation, and I hope you found it insightful to separate the events and understand the measures taken for tracking down a violent criminal with terrorist intentions.